Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I am Javier Dominguez from Spain, and I am joined by Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
Hello, so how are you today, Anthony?
I am very well, unlike some of us that are usually here with us.
What
as you'll
happened?
notice, there's only two of us.
Yeah, why? Why is that?
It's actually kind of fascinating. Mengu's actually flying to the US right now. In fact, he's traveling to Seattle, Washington in order to hang a sign that says "Ban White Plume Adventurer" outside Wizards headquarters. So he'll be back next week, hopefully. And yeah, let's see. He'll let us know how that went. So enjoy America.
I thought he was on vacation around New York and such, but the story actually makes more sense.
This is business. This is very serious business. Yeah.
Business to save legacy. Okay.
Yeah, it's an important mission. He's like Frodo dropping the thing in the volcano or whatever happens in that book, you know? It's important.
Are they dropping the two initiative creatures or only one?
He's a hobbit who's traveling to Mount Doom to drop the initiative cards into the volcano. That's it. Yep.
All right, so Mengu's not here, so let's move into episode probably 16.
I think it's 16.
Could be 17, 15. We don't know without Mengu. So
yeah, he keeps track of that stuff.
Exactly. We just play cards. Okay, so well, let's start with what happened this week, and also we'll talk about things that we left for this episode last weekend, such as the actual format of the people, or like we will go deeper in standard. But first, well, this weekend there were like two big the Magic Online showcase, the Mox showcase, and let's start with Modern because it was won by a deck that I know Anthony. I think this deck has a special space in Anthony's heart, even though he's like not a Modern player. Let us know what happened, Anthony, this weekend.
The deck that you're talking about is, of course, Eldrazi Tron, and it's a deck that has won me a lot of matches. So, I mean, that's technically a true statement, right? So yes, Eldrazi Tron somehow won a major Modern event. So there you go.
It's also not the first time it wins a major event, though, right?
It might be the first time.
It might be. I actually don't remember. It might be the first time. The deck has been around forever.
It's been around forever. It's always been like incredibly popular and overwhelmingly underperforming all the time. So I guess if enough people played it this whole time, at some point it had to win something. Well, but maybe there's more to it. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what happened.
I mean, there must be more to it. Like, there's obviously like some kind of power creep. Well, one thing is we actually don't have the list. It's interesting because
there's been a hiccup in the publishing schedule, so we don't actually have access to that list. So for all we know, maybe there is some kind of special Eldrazi technology there, but I don't know. I mean, it feels like there couldn't be that much that's different but by the nature of Eldrazi Tron, it's not that flexible a deck to build. At least that's my impression. So,
well, there's something, Anthony, that maybe so the way Eldrazi Tron works, like I have played the deck a little bit. I'm not an expert, but it's sort of like a bigger mid-range deck that in exchange is like less stable and less powerful. I remember back in the old MTG Minkar days, the joke was, I remember it because we actually tried, that Eldrazi Tron was weaker than Mardu Vehicles in the standard.
We tested it against every single standard deck in the format, and it lost to all of them.
Yeah, so, like there was a joke, right? Like this was a modern deck that actually was.
I mean, that's a good. That's a story we can tell, right? So it was GP Brisbane, and I guess this is kind of the genesis for a lot of the Eldrazi Tron memeing. But Hao Shan Huang was thinking about playing Eldrazi Tron at GP Brisbane, and it was a lot of people were thinking about playing Eldrazi Tron. It turned out to be, I think, the most popular deck in that event. And we were adamant that Hao Shan should not play this deck. And in order to prove it, we took out some standard decks that we had for side events and started destroying him with each and every one. It was a pretty powerful standard format, but I think after Hao Shan lost like the third match in a row, he was pretty off it. So we managed to convince him to not play his modern deck by repeatedly beating him with standard decks, which I think it's not easy to do, but it's a very convincing argument. But I think another way, and we kept telling jokes about Eldrazi Tron, and at some point it came up on coverage, and If I recall correctly, someone asked, coverage asked Li Shitian what he thought of Eldrazi Tron, and he said, Magic is a game of 5 colors. Each of them does something powerful, and you choose to play none of them. So
I remember that one.
it was good, right? Yeah. Okay, but that's the dumping on Eldrazi Tron. I guess we can go back to talking about why it could conceivably be good.
I mean, then again, we don't have a list. I thought this deck was actually like not that bad or anything. It's just like there were always like better options in terms of like what Eldrazi Tron was trying to do. Because there was the bigger Tron, which was better at being a Tron deck, and often some of the decks usually thought these decks were better at being like a mid-range deck. And Eldrazi Tron will be, like, in my opinion, a little bit short in both directions.
Yeah.
However, it was always solid against the other mid-range decks. Like, it was never crushing them. But yeah, because it's a little bigger and the creatures are actually fine. And Karn, the Great Creator, is like a sick card, you know, even though it got nerfed like by the Man of the Lattice back in the day in Modern. So what I think could have happened here, other than that, this person being probably a Eldrazi Tron specialist, like I think these decks, if you know them like very deep, they become like quite better.
Yeah, I think
that's true.
I think something that hurt Eldrazi Tron a lot is the fact that the deck is so often deeply misunderstood in a way that not that many modern decks are. So everybody would often group Eldrazi Tron with Tron, which just doesn't really make sense because, as you say, it actually plays out way more like a mid-range deck than, you know, the big mana style of Tron. Like, Tron is much closer to a deck like Valakut, and Eldrazi Tron is just not like those decks. Like, it was closer to Jund than to Tron, I think. But it was always grouped with Tron, and people often played it like it was a Tron deck, which also didn't really help it very much. So I think that's something important to note. So because Eldrazi Tron won an event doesn't mean that like Tron in general is better. It probably means that some kind of mid-range deck was well positioned, specifically a bigger one. So we'll probably have more to say once we see the specific list or details about that challenge, but next week, I mean. But I think that's worth saying about Eldrazi Tron in general. And what that might mean for how we
I still think I have something to say with this. Like,
yeah.
So Anthony pointed out, like, Eldrazi Tron was more similar to Jund than to actual Tron, and here Eldrazi Tron is actually more similar in terms of metagame share. Like, it's quite closer to something like the 4-color control decks with Yorion and such. Like, the gameplay and the metagame space is going to be similar.
That makes sense.
Why could this be good now? Well, I have one potential answer, because these decks, like these bigger mid-range decks, tend to be like weak-ish against super aggro decks, but more importantly, they tend to get destroyed by the over-the-top decks where they cannot interact with. Like, if you're playing Eldrazi Tron and Valakut, you're just like dead, right?
Yeah.
The same way you were with 4-color control. So I think what could have happened here is the Brainstone, the best named card ever.
You mean the Stone Brain? See, you already...
Yeah, the Stone Brain. Yeah, I still keep... Is it the Stone Brain or the Brainstone? I don't remember anymore.
The Stone Brain is the one that you want.
Yeah.
Brainstone is a different card. Me. Yeah.
Okay, the Brainstone and not... No, the Stone Brain and not the Brainstone. Exactly. Okay. So the Stone Brain... Sorry. Yeah. The Stone Brain. I think the Stone Brain might actually be a relevant change because the way this deck is built, it's weak against Belcher, Valakut, whatever, all these kind of decks.
Exactly. Yeah, the exact weaknesses.
There's one card that actually shaves the deck's weaknesses by a lot, because also Eldrazi Tron lost to the bigger Tron or whatever. But now, if you can
helps a lot,
Stone Brain those cards, you actually have like a mid-range deck that's good against mid-range decks, because Eldrazi Tron was always good against mid-range. But now you're better against combo. Of course, you're not going to crush them or whatever, but if you're playing now Valakut against Eldrazi Tron, exactly. You know, if they go early can do a creator, you're dead because you're not winning without Valakut, right? So that's I think that's something that might have happened. I assume also the leveler is a decent improvement. Like, I was thinking about this because on my flight back from Bologna, I played 4 seasons, by the way, last week at a tournament there. So I was like, in Pioneer, Karn made Mono Green better, right? Because it just upgraded the toolbox to another level.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the case in Modern. Like, I think this Stone Brain card, it does change more things that it might look on the surface. Yeah, also like, Belcher or whatever. But there's a lot of decks like this in Modern nowadays. Even Creativity, right? Like, that should be a problem for the Dratitron. But if you Stonebrain the Archons game 1, well, the game is effectively over. And that puts a pressure on the deck that was supposed to have the easy matchup. Now, and not anymore. So that's what I think. That's what I think
that sounds
like
a much bigger. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about how the Stonebrain changed things. Like, I thought maybe it was just better because of a metagame thing, which also could be. I mean, I think it's probably both things. Where Dratitron to have come from nowhere to have risen up and won, a significant event. But I assumed it was more about mid-range decks are good, but people have tools against the smaller mid-range decks, and that's where Dratitron comes in because it's usually not as affected by them. But yeah, just straight up adding a card that fixes or doesn't fix, but at least it helps a lot in its worst matchups. That's probably a bigger deal than even metagame positioning, I think. So, wow.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I thought the Stonebrain is good. Like, it's good enough that you could play 3 on the sideboard.
I mean, it's the opportunity cost is not very high for Dratitron, right? Like, you could definitely just play as many Stonebrains as you want, I think.
You could play a few and then just keep one for the cards. Like, and that's a lot of disruption against, like, suddenly a deck like Creativity, they are like, wow, like,
you have hate cards, yeah, for real.
Yeah, like we don't know the list, but this is like a hate card that also gets fetched with Karn. So, yep. So that's what I thought that will happen. So, sorry, that's what I thought it happened. Yep. Okay. Yep. So
that's exciting. That, I mean, I don't know. That's real news, right? Because for a while we were just kind of like, I don't know, stuff happened in Modern, same decks, but an old deck like Eldrazi rising back up to the top, that would be, I don't know. That's more new than most things. So, that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like this kind of decks. I mean, I might try it. If I play some Modern, I might just, give it a try because I think also, have potential.
No, okay, I mean,
so we have a Tooless Twin in second place, which is the person that actually posted the deck list on Twitter. Blue Red Murtide. I mean, we don't have the rest of the top 8, but it still looks like Blue Red is a deck you have to go through if you want to do well.
I mean, that's always true, right? Like, regardless of how strong or well-positioned Murktide is, it's always popular, so you kind of do always have to go through it regardless, I think.
Yeah,
but it
exactly.
is good.
Yeah, and but also I wanted to point like Creativity decks are also getting better because he played like 2 War Bars. Like, that's how deep Creativity now has established itself like a tier 1 in the metagame.
Wow.
Like, it's like, it reminds me of back in the day where everyone played like Stony Silence type of cards, except you can play Orvar in literally every deck. So I will be a little bit worried if I was like a Creativity gamer, because I mean, even on Dratitron, like, literally any single deck can have Orvar. And I think Creativity is reaching a point where most decks are actually having Orvar on the sideboard, and that's very dangerous because you can just like, I mean, you combo for 1 or for 2, you put an Archon and you just lose to another Archon, like to the Orvar, and that's
I assume that Creativity might be able to look for reasonable countermeasures, but it does suggest like a level of hostility that usually doesn't bode well for most modern decks.
It's very hard though. Like, it's very hard to counter that. I mean, you have to pick another creature basically because Orvar is perfect for Archon.
Yeah.
And any other creature is just like so much worse.
If it was close, then we would just have played those creatures instead anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
Clearly there's a cost to be paid. It's also just that if the metagame is enough that people are all playing Orvar in their sideboard, that probably means other people are picking decks that specifically beat Creativity even without it. So if they don't have Orvar, that's probably even worse for you because it probably just means that they beat you without it anyway. Otherwise, what are they doing, right?
No, I mean it's very style because like it's not like Blue Red falls to Creativity. Like, Blue Red has tools to fight against Creativity. It's a counterspell deck, right? But they still play Orvar. That's ominous, scary.
Yeah.
Like this weekend there's in Barcelona the qualifier.
Yeah.
The qualifier for Napolis. And I will not play because I'm qualified for the Standard Showcase Finals, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But for those playing, I mean, I think playing Creativity is going to be a dangerous proposition this weekend. I mean, I will be...
Makes sense.
I will be, I will try to find another way. Maybe Dratitron, who knows? That's something I will definitely try.
Is Eldrazi a deck that's possibly, something that could be a victim of metagaming as well, though? I
don't know. Dratitron with... Imagine you're playing, you're playing Stonebrain, Dratitron, you play Stonebrain against Blue Red, you name Murtide. How is Blue Red going to kill you? It's not easy,
actually a good question.
I know, there's a lot to explore there. The Dratitron is also a Chalice as a boys deck usually.
Yeah, I mean, that's the appeal, right?
One,
like, that used to be the thing.
Chalice and the Stonebrain.
that we used to joke that you could put Chalice of the Void and any cards together, and you would win like quite a few matches just because you had Chalice in your deck. But the better the rest of it gets, then yeah, it's quite a drastic upgrade if you can start to win games without relying on Chalice or being on the play, and make cards like the Stonebrain make that possible.
You're gonna play Stonebrain and Chalice all day. Also, Chalice accidentally great against Cascade decks.
Yeah.
Like if you suspect your Cascade, you use Chalice or Zero, and it's like a hate.
Well, I have to assume if you have both
deck.
Chalice and Stonebrain against the Cascade deck, it's gonna be very difficult.
Yeah, that's like if you think through why Eldrazi might be decent right now, things add up pretty fast. Like Chalice being a separate card, that's a main card, blah blah blah. There's a lot of things going on.
So we're suggesting people try Eldrazi. Do we know possible directions for them to fight it?
To fight against Eldrazi?
Yeah, I assume you'll see a huge upset because that deck was so popular when it sucked, and if it doesn't suck, imagine how much more popular it will be, right? So, do we have any suggestions as to how someone might look to combat it?
I will say control decks have to be good against it, right? Like this blue-white control with counter spells.
I guess you don't care about either of the cards that we highlighted as being good and you can trade efficiently with.
I mean, you do care about the Stonebrain for like at some extent, but
it's not like the other decks, where they resolve it. You're like, all
right. Exactly. You care about Karn. I mean, you have enough answers to kill all the threats. I think control always is like this against Mortite. Control's also a deck that will have a lot of time to find cards like Orvar. So I think it could be a good week to play control if time is not an issue for you.
Of course,
and also maybe some kind of like aggro decks, like Burn or Hammer and the such.
Hammer should be good.
Decks,
Burn was kind of a flip against Eldrazi. I think usually whoever was in the play was ahead.
I guess.
Yeah, Hammer might just be great.
Yeah, Hammer's good. Hammer's good against the Eldrazi decks. Hammer's good against the the blue-red type of decks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Hammer is decent there. Hammer's weak against Yawmoth, most notably. But I think Yawmoth, I expect a lot of blue-red decks this weekend as well, so I will be a little bit scared of playing Yawmoth compared to something like Hammer. So yeah, I think, I will, if I was going to play the tournament, I will probably play Hammer.
Yeah, so from what it sounds like. I think Hammer is a more inherently powerful deck than Control, so if I'm looking for a deck to at least be good against Eldrazi and the choices are Control or Hammer, then either is fine, obviously, but Hammer sounds better in the dark, I guess.
Yeah, but I will try to play Eldrazi. I will test Eldrazi, and definitely. If I find it good, I will play it, and if it's not good, I will fall back to Hammer. That will be my bet for the weekend.
Oh, well, that's good.
So yeah, if you come in there, well, I will be there though in the morning, just chilling around. So just feel free to say hi, because I'm usually very quiet, focused in the corner when I'm in tournaments. But this time I will be in a tournament, but I will just be like, hanging around.
Just chilling, yeah.
So, feel
free
to
that's an open invitation. If you see Javier, go up to him and start talking to him about Eldrazi. It's what he asked for.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. I love discussing about Magic decks, including Eldrazi. So, you're welcome.
I feel you don't know what you don't know what you signed yourself up for just now, but it's too late. You've already said it.
Yeah, I said it, so it's been recorded.
No take-backsies.
Yeah. I will not take backsies. Okay, deal. All right, so that's for what happened in Modern. I think that's
quite something.
A good, interesting thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And let's move to Pioneer.
Yep.
Format we've played a lot lately because of the RCQ's names.
RCs,
I don't know the names.
Both, I guess.
So what happened this weekend, Mr. RC champion Anthony Lee?
What did it? RCs? Yes. So the RCs that happened were in South American one, I believe. Which was won by Alejandro Sepulveda. I hope I said the name right, with Mono Red, which is
Sepulveda, I guess.
Sepulveda. Okay. One with Mono Red, which is well, we're definitely talking about that. Man, what a weekend for
Mono Red,
for comebacks, right? Like Eldrazi Tron Mono Red. It's like we've wound back the clock. And the one in won by the Taiwanese one, or Chinese Taipei, but let's say Taiwan. Okay. The Taiwanese tournament won by Jim Tim Lee, who, according to Hao Shan Huang, is he's been working quite hard for a while now, and he won it with black red, I believe. So
stuck.
Yeah, good deck. But alrighty. So I guess the one that we are more interested in talking about. I mean, of course, Black Red, great deck, and it seems like he's a great player, but Mono Red really captures our attention more, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I saw the English on the internet. It was like, ooh, that's something. You know,
has a lot of cards you like.
That's,
yeah.
yeah. Why do you think that happened?
That's honestly tough. You tell me, I guess, because I am not sure where to start with this deck, because nothing about it seems like it's that different to previous Mono Red. So what made Mono Red better now? My guess would be that there's more Lotus, and I think this deck is good against Lotus. Lotus has, in general, like started doing a lot better, but that happened at the same time as this. So were they just like one level ahead? I'm not really sure.
I mean, my read will probably be something like this person played this deck for a while and they just didn't lose too much with it, so they just pulled the trigger. That's my read in the situation. I don't think the deck was particularly good for the weekend, but I mean, we've seen it in the past. Like, if you know a deck very well and you just play what you know, sometimes cards go your way and you get the right lanes. And I don't think it was like very good for the weekend, but I actually think it will maybe be good going forward.
Yeah, because of what I just said. I guess
exactly. Yeah. But I think what happened in this tournament was like, hey, this deck is like still acceptable, because it was good like half a year ago or so, right? Or 1 year.
Well, we were playing it about half a year. Yeah, that's when we were playing it. Yeah. Yep.
So I think this is a little bit like hey, this deck is like a tier 2 now, but it's a decent tier 2. This is not like a completely unplayable or anything.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think one big thing for Mono Red that I don't know if you will agree with, but I actually think these new Black Red versions are way worse against Mono Red, because they took the Hero Kalitas, which was definitely like a game breaker against that deck. Like, yep. I playing aggro against Black Red, I always felt like Kalitas was the big, facing my head against the wall.
They've also removed any kind of answer to Hazoret. Like, they used to have like for a while, Black Red decks had Hazoret for mirrors. Then there were ways to kill Hazoret, and then it disappeared. But now the answers to Hazoret have gone, and this deck has 3 Hazoret main decks, so you can definitely steal a bunch of games of Black Red just slamming that thing, right? So.
And Shihaldred not that great against Mono. It's good, of course, but it's not Kalitas.
Like, Kalitas can beat Hazoret, but Shihaldred, it might be a bit tougher. So
tricky. Yeah, you need something like Shihaldred plus Croxa or something. Yeah. I think that has helped a lot for sure.
Let's look at this respect. Four main deck rampaging Ferocidon. Like, yeah, I mean, beating Shihaldred's very, very possible when you have Hazoret, Ferocidon, Embercleave. Yeah, I mean, this actually looks like it's quite well thought out. Yeah. Like,
exactly. But we don't know if this person played this deck beforehand, or they were like, well, I'm going to exploit the fact that people do not play Kalitas anymore. Maybe it was a mix, but I see this deck, and I can see this deck just being fine against Black Red. Of course, not like crushing, because sometimes it's going to be like...
point pressure, blah, blah, blah,
But sometimes, I mean, those cards like Ferocidon or whatever, they are also not super easy to deal with. From the Black Red side, you have to have a Revolted Push, and or the like the bigger cards like Dreadboard or whatever, which is
not very good against the rest of the deck. Yeah.
So I think this is a decent deck, and definitely something I will like to try a little bit at least going forward, because there's some upsides. And Ferocidon also, cool card. It was banned in Standard somehow. So,
I mean, that was for not pure win rate related reasons. They banned it because it was too centralizing, which is a little different.
Poor dinosaur. All right.
Wow.
So that's for the RCs, and then in Pioneer online the showcase we had this like Lotus Boom, where Lotus is
Lotus Boom. Very clever. Anyway, go
on. Lotus is won the tournament. Was the showcase qualifier? The showcase in the Modern. I think there were like 2 in top 4, something like that. I'm not sure, but at least
it also won a big event in Japan. It's just been like winning a lot. I mean, more than at any other point. To be honest, like when Pioneer started as a format, people were like, "Wow, do they have to ban Lotus Field?" And it's winning more now than it was then. So, I'm not. To be clear, I'm not suggesting in any way that they need to ban it. I'm just saying, wow, like Lotus has never been this good, right?
So well, we are now. Everyone heard it here. Anthony said they should ban Lotus Field. I'm glad you finally stepped up into a banning conversation, Anthony. You're a very, very brave player. So Lotus is doing better. So if you remember what happened last time Lotus was good, metagame started to adapt with cards like Alpine Moon and whatever. The issue is though, like also Narset reversals and the such, is now by the presence of Boseiju, like it's not that easy to interact with Lotus as it was before. Like before, you would play just Alpine Moon and things will be like happy or whatever. But the deck plays 3 Boseiju now. That didn't happen before. And I mean, last time Lotus was huge, right? Yeah. Maybe this time the deck is just like so good. There's also these like, you know, new technologies happening there, like the Hope 10 or whatever. Like there's a lot of things going on there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's both. So the Lotus deck has improved a bit in terms of how it's built. I think also the metagame has shifted in a way that favored it. I think probably the biggest thing that has led to Lotus suddenly surging, and I think this is something that Pascal Maynard alluded to in having chosen Lotus for the Canadian RC, is mono green has never been less now than since it's first started making its way into the format, right? Like mono green is at a low point now, and that's kind of had a bunch of knock-on effects that have really helped out Lotus, I think. So decks that might prey on Lotus are less good because they have less food in terms of mono green, and that has made an opening for Lotus. So yeah, and black red also, of course, is very popular, and it's not a crushingly good matchup for Lotus, but you know, you're pretty happy to play against it as Lotus. So
yeah, also Phoenix is a good matchup. Yeah, I mean, like,
everything's
I hate to play against. Yeah, exactly. For me, Lotus was off the table because we expected a lot of mono green, and matchup against mono green felt like
it's not good. Yeah,
like not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lotus was very good this week, but I'm not sure it's gonna keep being that good. Like maybe now the deck is just like too good, but I don't think that's gonna be the case.
So.
Like, decks like mono green is just crush it. Mono red for sure. Like I mean, I imagine just like you playing Lotus and they just mono red you. It has to be like rough. Even decks like mono white are not exactly like a cakewalk. Like mono white, the more hate they play, the rougher it becomes. But we'll see though. The deck might be like powerful enough to combat the hate or the other decks, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. Like I mean, all the other decks they can also play like if Phoenix starts packing like Narset reversals, or Black Red could play cards on Necromantia. Necromantia is like an actual hate card, right? Like those cards are enough in my opinion to just keep a deck like Lotus in check.
Yeah, I think the hate cards against Lotus are quite a bit stronger than the hate cards against any other deck. Like, I think the closest thing you get is like maybe Go Blank or something against Phoenix, but even that's like not as good as the hate cards are against Lotus. And there are so many different ones. Like, you have to, like, being able to play Go Blank against Phoenix is pretty specific. You almost certainly have to be playing Black Red. But pretty much anyone can play a hate card against Lotus and it's going to be good. It's not the same extreme where literally anybody could put Orvar the All form in their deck and be good against Creativity. But it's the closest we have in Pioneer in terms of the range.
Yeah, because like Phoenix has reversal.
Yeah.
Black Red. Necromantia can hit Lotus Field, right?
Yeah.
So if you land on the play, it's like lights out. There's a game over.
Or anyone could play like Damping Spheres or whatever. Even if they don't lock you out, they're going to be effective if they have any clock.
Damping Sphere, quite good. Even the Stone Brain, I guess. Also, like there's a lot of different cards.
I think people can...
Surely something from Mono White as well.
Yeah, they could just
even Deafening Silence. Deafening Silence is legal, right?
Yep, sure is.
Like Deafening Silence is a hate card against both.
You can also get...
Lotus
you can just get a creature version. It's like something like Archon of Emeria is super hard to beat because you can't even Boseiju it.
Yeah, so, like, Emeria. Wow, that's a good one,
yeah.
So I think Lotus Field is... I think Lotus Field is just, like the deck that's just... Maybe in a vacuum, the most powerful deck, maybe that will be Mono Green, but like it's definitely as powerful as Mono Green in terms of like what it's doing. But they're just like the hate is just like very good. Like I expect in the next like month or whatever, everyone going to a tournament in Pioneer will have like an actual plan against Lotus because it's quite easy. Yeah, like you just throw 3 Archon of Emeria in your sideboard in Mono White or 4, and the matchup becomes like much better. You put Phoenix, you put like some reversals, the matchup becomes much better. So I think Lotus Field might not be great going forward the first 2 weeks or whatever, but it's same as Creativity. Like the deck is just so good that it's
we've drawn parallels with Pioneer as a format to how Old Modern worked. What we're saying it kind of reminds me of how Dredge used to work. Every now and then Dredge just has like a monster run, and then people decide, okay, we had enough of that, and it has to slink off back into the shadows. But if you stop paying respect to it, it will come back eventually and
Yeah,
monster you all over again.
exactly.
Maybe Lotus is just like Dredge was, you know? I mean, Dredge was also quite similar, actually, like tough to interact with, very powerful, very weak to hate cards. Maybe.
Yeah, it could probably be. Yeah, I like the comparison. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what's going on. But like, I think Lotus is relatively better compared to how Dredge was.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
So maybe more something like, I don't know. Yeah, more. I think Lotus is more similar to what KCI was in terms of like power level compared to the format.
Well,
They got banned eventually, but
oh, so
I mean, you were the one saying ban
so you're on
Lotus,
record
so,
saying
you know?
that you think Lotus should be banned then. So it's good that you're willing to.
Oh,
to get
I
on
will
board with that.
definitely. I don't mind playing against combo, I guess, because I played a lot of Eternal or whatever. But I do think having like decks that are very hard to interact with, being like on tier 1 bracket of formats, is not cool.
That's true. I think I remember you've mentioned that
Like,
before. Yeah, that's very
Yeah,
true.
I don't enjoy it. Like, I will probably enjoy Pioneer more if Lotus was not there, because even if you have like, okay, you're playing Phoenix and you play against Lotus and you have the reversals, and therefore the matchup becomes actually fine or whatever, it is still like this cyber coin flip game where if you draw the cyber card you win and if you don't you lose.
Yeah, it's just slots, right?
Which, yeah, exactly. It's a good matchup because of that. It's like playing Leylands against Edge. Like, it's good,
it's
it makes the matchup good.
The games are super
But
binary.
it's not like fun. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't particularly enjoy it. So I mean, for me, I will prefer Lotus Field to be banned for fun reasons, because I'd rather play like, you know, like Blue Red against Control or whatever than playing against Lotus, even though with enough cyber cards it's going to be a good matchup. Because also if your cyber cards, like if they happen to be good, then your opponent doesn't function and you just kill corpse. Like they don't function, right? Like if you just extirpate the Lotus somehow, it's not fun. So
one person is not playing the game either way. Just deciding who it is.
Exactly.
So
exactly, either it's them or it's you. So for me, I mean, I don't strongly believe this. They should ban anything or not.
We just need to get Mengu to update his sign, the one that he's going to put outside Wizards. So White Plume Adventurer plus Lotus Field. All right, so we just need to make a wish list.
Like I saw some people in Twitter complaining about the Lotus Field though. I think it was
really.
No.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody
some people
complains
VRC
about
or whatever. Like also playing paper against Lotus is a little bit worse, I guess, because you're just there sitting for 2 minutes while they just loop, ultimatum, and then Leo.
It doesn't take that long if they know what they're doing. It's not.
Yeah,
that
but
bad.
still, like, it's like you go 3 minutes of like just waiting and whatever. Like it's
That's fair.
I understand why the experience is not great. We have this before. We had this KCI, whatever, were longer, but
yeah,
there were combat decks were good and also slow. And I think that's a little bit meh. It's not escape shift where they just escape shift when you die. It's just more like more convoluted, and I don't hate it specifically, but yeah. I mean, if you ask me, like, yeah, I will enjoy it more. Like, I don't think having this kind of combat decks add too much at this point. I think it's cool that they can happen, and people can break it or whatever.
The idea is more fun than the execution, I think.
Once established,
there's novelty.
And it's like a good slow combo deck.
Gets old fast.
For me, it does get old fast. Like,
that makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah, and Monorain is like in the middle of that kind of thing, just because of the current combo.
Yeah, it's kind of pushing it. Yeah.
Like it's on the edge, Like I think it might be better to have a format without Monorain, but then again, Monorain is easy to interact with because you can kill the elves, you can, there's a lot of things you can do.
The hate cards, yeah.
But Lotus,
as well.
You can just play removals to kill the creatures and they don't have mana or devotion or whatever. But Lotus Bloom, you just cannot interact.
Yeah, the bigger thing is that I think the hate cards for Lotus you have to because I wouldn't put stuff like Necromancer or Damping Spirit in my deck unless it's for Lotus, but against Black-Red I might just have those cards anyway. It's not like Extinction Event or Pithing Needle, useless in other matchups, so it's the cost of fighting Monogreen is much lower than Lotus, and I think that makes the outcomes less binary as well in terms of deck construction.
The games are more interesting, right?
Sure.
Playing against Monorain, they can play it on Extinction Event, but you can also have the Extinction Event. You can, there's a little bit of tension. Yeah. There's not that much tension, when you have like Damping Sphere.
Yeah, it's just you can't do things.
Damping Sphere, it's that's it.
Makes sense.
So, you have to kill it, or your combo doesn't function. That's it.
Yeah, in terms of actionable stuff outside of putting a sign outside Wizards HQ, I guess we're telling people respect Lotus because it's doing very well again, and you can probably put a stop to
and
that.
ban Lotus Field
so please
also.
do.
Gutsy, ban Lotus Field, please.
And maybe mono red. It's harder to tell. We don't think it's necessarily like reshaping the format or anything, and we think it's more likely that the player who won just knows how to play the deck and had a good list. I mean, looking at the list, it looks well tuned. But clearly, if you're in that position where you understand the mono red deck well, then yeah, go ahead.
You go ahead because it looks good now. It looks well positioned. Like
it's a lot of the things that made it unappealing before no longer apply. Right, that's what we're saying.
Also, more Lotus usually means less Phoenix.
Yeah.
So because players often overlap. Yeah. So go mono red.
Yay!
All right. Let's move into standard, shall we?
Yes. A great format.
Standard.
Yes.
Great format. No, that's not the format of the people.
There's multiple formats of the people. Standard is one of them.
No, there's only one.
Okay.
It depends on if Mengu's here or not. Yeah. So standard. Well, we didn't talk about standard this week because we had like a lot of things to unpack.
And we knew we'd be
talk
together
about
here.
it a little bit
because
quite a bit has happened in standard these weekends. Let's start. I mean, so 2 weeks ago, I qualified for the standard showcase with Grixis. That tournament was honestly like a mirror match festival.
Of course.
I just played against, I think, one Soldiers, one Mardu, and then just like any other deck was mirror match. Of Grixis, midrange / control, however, based on the Nathan Stewer deck. But, so the tricky part here is pretty much no one had the same deck. Like, it was all Grixis's, but for example, I played Invoke and no She-Holdred. I played against opponents with Invoke and She-Holdred. I played against opponents with She-Holdred and like Geek's Command and more spells from other colors. And I also played against no She-Holdred commands. Like I just played against like all
There's
the
combinations.
There's
all kinds of combinations, different ways you can build it. Yeah.
So it feels like highly unsolved because like all the decisions you make, they kind of impact on how you build your deck, and it cascades, right?
Yes.
Once you have the Invoke, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah, pulls your deck in a certain
direction. It's interesting because there's also like there are other decks. There's like these Esper decks that are like a little bit weak against Grixis, particularly against the Invoke Grixis, but they are great against everything else that's not Grixis. So it's a tricky situation to be in. Also, there are like like a little bit of new decks as well. Mardu, which is like mono white splash, the package of Harvester and Fable. Also white decks and also red decks making top 18 challenge. There's a lot happening in a standard. What do you think?
It's kind of wild. Like everything seemed like quite stable for the first couple of weeks, and then somehow the floodgates just opened, and all of the decks are coming out again. Kind of makes sense to me because you can build a variety of strategies to try to attack Grixis. I think Grixis is a more attackable deck than Esper generally, and I think that's kind of where these white type decks come. Like I think Mono White and Mardu are probably relatively similar in terms of the metagame angle that they exist on. So it's kind of like Grixis is a little ahead against Esper. Esper is ahead against the other category, and then other is probably overall like pretty decent against Grixis, especially these decks like Mardu or Mono White. And even the Grixis decks themselves, like they have quite a wide range, because we don't even agree on stuff like, is Sheoldred the Apocalypse a good card? That's a big question mark.
That is huge. Like I see it as like this Sheoldred dilemma where Sheoldred is a good answer to Sheoldred, and it's a card that it's the best card in Standard, I think, at this point.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's defines more game rather than Fables. Well, the thing about Fable is I'm feeling lately like Fable is worse at winning games than She-Holdred, because Fable does not behave like it does not impact these late games once players have sweepers like the Geek's Command, for example, or the Brotherhoods that are like commonly played now main deck.
Yeah,
like similar to the Midhook situation, but She-Holdred, it's just like like not that easy to undo, and it plays very well against the chapter number 2 of the Fable, but it falls to go for the throat.
Yeah, it's tough.
So sometimes I sit down and play with 3 She-Holdreds, and then I play with 0, and I'm like, well, I have no idea. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
because She-Holdred is, it's strange. Like, you play against Aggro, for example, and it's a great card. Like, if you play against White Soldiers without She-Holdred, like, sometimes you're on the draw, they go Creature, Thalia, whatever, and Fables and Corpse Operators will not save you, you know? But She-Holdred will.
Yeah, I think the way I would characterize She-Holdred in general is that it's, I mean, a high risk, high reward card, and that's more obvious because it's also like just not the kind of card that is typically good in standard. Because typically the value cards are the cards that succeed in standard, but I think that's actually what makes She-Holdred particularly valuable, because it is the card that is uniquely positioned as a high risk, high reward card, because everything else is like lower risk, lower reward. Like Fable is a very good card because it's so consistent in the amount of value that it gives you, but it is quite slow, obviously, and as you say, like people can actually, you know, like how good it is starts to become capped when people can actually interact with it now that there are sweepers in the format. But with She-Holdred, the good thing about She-Holdred is that it can steal games from behind in a way that a lot of the other snowbally cards don't. Like if you're very behind, Fable is often not going to be that good anyway. But She-Holdred might steal it for you, right? And I think that's something that
exactly.
happens because it's high risk, high reward. So I think She-Holdred,
like you're playing against Mono Red, you know, Mono Red is like you lose the battle, Fable, you play Fable, they shock it, and
you're like, oh,
they attack you for 4.
I'm dead.
And yeah.
So I think that's if She-Holdred, I think you can make, you know, thinking about it more, I think you can reasonably make a case for She-Holdred being the best card, not because of pure power level, because I think that's not really true because of what you mentioned and what we've always known, that Fable, it can just trade with like a 2-mana removal spell, and that's a pretty terrible trade. But that it's more unique in its function in being like a high roll, low roll card, and standard just doesn't have any other cards like that are viable. So yeah, I think maybe She-Holdred is the best card, and yet maybe not one that you should play. I think that's not
it's
actually
even
clear.
weirder. Like it's even weirder because with what we said so far, well, the usual answer, especially with a deck like looting and with looting effects, you say like, well, then you play a one-off.
Yeah,
like that's the conventional deck building says, right?
Yeah.
Well, then you just play one, so you will have that effect in some situations. Yeah, exactly. But that's not exactly how it played out in my experience, because so She-Holdred has like this efficient 2-mana answer that's often like a 3-off index, but this card also doesn't have like that many targets.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy often for your opponent to save one for She-Holdred. So it's a card that when you draw it, and one is good, you actually kind of want to have 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you either overload them, like you never want to draw as many She-Holdreds as they have efficient answers, right? Like either you draw none and they draw 1, that's good for you. If you draw 2 and they draw 1, that's good for you. You draw 1 and they draw 1.
Like so often I win with the second She-Holdred, or I lose to the second She-Holdred. It's actually somewhat similar to what happened in the Pioneer testing against Phoenix, where you know you play She-Holdred, they kill it, and then you play the second one and you win.
Yeah, it happened a lot.
And a lot. So that's why we play 3, right?
Yeah.
And here it's kind of like happening the same. Like I like to have like 3. I even played a little bit of 4 She-Holdreds, or like straight 0, and that makes it even more difficult because if you play 4 She-Holdreds or 3, you have to construct your deck differently.
Yes, definitely.
In terms of sideboarding.
Yeah.
And 0 also, like it's a big difference, right? But I felt like 1 or 2 She-Holdreds was a spot I never wanted to have. And that goes, then again, at least for me, goes against my preconception of how deck building works for this kind of cards. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but I think that's pretty strange / deep.
I guess the way I would try to reconcile it is that so often, just historically over the last few years and still more recently, is that standard is, I think, as Brad Nelson used to say, often about trying to line up threats and answers, you know, and I guess the She-Holdred working in this way means that playing 1 or 2 is exactly how it's the way in which your threats can line up the worst against their answers the most often, for the reasons that we just outlined. So I guess in that way we can try to fit it into the existing paradigm of standard, but it is just a different card to what is normally good in standard and different to everything else in standard, which is what makes it so tricky to build with. But that's kind of interesting, I guess, because it's a bit unusual that we say, yeah, this is I mean, you think it's the best card, and I'm not sure about it, but I could see it being the best card. And yeah, this is the best card. You should maybe play 0 of them, or maybe you should play 3. Not really sure. But
yeah, I'm not really sure. It's kind of weird. Yeah, like Grixis is being good for me, but also it often has to do with how good she already is against the answers they have for my deck. Because against Grixis, has problems with stuff that invalidates this like Fable Concept Razor engine, but those like I play against Mono White, Shoulder just beats them often. Like it's very hard to undo Shoulder once they don't have like one of the few removals.
Yeah,
and
you
that's
don't get
all
that
the decks.
long.
Like, decks, yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. I honestly struggle a little bit at just fully understanding how this the Shoulder dance works. I'm looking forward into like playing more so I can get a better grasp of it because I think that's very interesting and
a better infernal grasp on it maybe.
This journey of like the understanding how this works. It's been I think you will enjoy.
Well, I mean, it's why we like it, right? Like we love to learn. Like being good at Magic is often about relearning things or learning things, as opposed to just having great fundamentals or whatever. I mean, fundamentals are more about learning than having memorized some kind of divine underlying rules or whatever. And Shieldred is so interesting because it's so different. So we kind of have to figure out how cards like this work.
In a way, it's feeling like knowing things beforehand is actually like bad for understanding Shieldred.
Well, I mean, it's literally a prejudice, right?
A very unique card.
Prejudgment, prejudice. Like, I mean, that's why people kind of slept on the card, right? Because it doesn't look like a card that's good in Standard. So, and that was based on our previous heuristics for what was good in Standard. So now that's changed, and stuff like our deck building heuristics also have to change. Wow,
I'm gonna give
she really was the Apocalypse,
for this reason. I'm gonna give her 10 out of 10 in terms of design to this card.
Fascinating card. And we'll try to get back to you. Maybe next week we'll know. This week we can only tell you maybe it's the best card, and that means you should play 0 or 3. And maybe by next week we'll have a better idea. Or 4.
It could be 4 also.
It could be possible, yeah. Well, either it's a lot or none at all. And maybe we'll have a better idea by next week. But that's the question, and we encourage you to also explore that yourselves because it is a really interesting question.
Yeah, I will try to figure it out before the weekend, hopefully, for the Standard Showcase. Yeah, I really don't know. You guys know, your listeners know that we only talk about things that we can talk. We're never holding anything back. So for real, I don't know, and I will try to figure it out.
We are telling you very honestly that we have no idea.
Yeah, it's very close.
But we'd like to.
Because I play with 3 and I play with 0, and I was like, I don't know.
I mean, if you have some idea, if any listeners have some interesting thoughts about it, tell us. This might be something where they shouldn't send it to @Mengu09 because he'll probably he would be just
for the bad feedback or whatever. It's Mengu09. For the Magic suggestions, you can tag Javier the Magic or MTG band card.
I probably won't see. Just ask Javier.
You can just tag Javier. I will channel it to Anthony.
Yeah,
but the podcast, even though we said this, is not over yet because there's still some things to touch.
Definitely, because I mean,
shall we?
Yeah, I just got distracted by that. But maybe we should have talked. We should talk about the white and red decks themselves, right? Because we've talked about.
A little bit.
Yeah, we can't just
sure.
Those are very important.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, we just went on a diversion. Yeah, anyway, go on.
There's this white and red decks happening, mono white, Mardu and red decks. We touch them a little bit, but
we should actually
talk about why why are they good? I mean, Anthony probably knows why are they good.
Well, I think these decks are they're two different. I'll talk about the white and the Mardu decks first, I guess. I think these decks are they have all the cards that are really, really good at fighting these grindy matchups. So, especially mono white has cards, there's threats that line up extremely well against a lot of the answers that we're playing now. So all the answers that are good against Shieldred are kind of awful against Sanctuary Warden. Sanctuary Warden, I think, is a big part of why these decks can succeed in mid-range mirrors. Because it's great against Invoke, it's great against the Go for the Throats or Destroy Evils or Infernal Grasps that you use to destroy cards like Shieldred. So these decks are mostly just built on a ton of value in Sanctuary Warden, I think. There's an interesting threat that appeared in the Mardu mid-range in particular, which was Steel Seraph. That card was way better than I expected.
That's the new prototype.
Yeah, the new prototype Angel.
Remember the releases what it does because I never know it.
Say again, sorry.
Can you tell us what the card does?
Okay, so it is one white. I'm just going to read the mode that you're probably going to cast. It's a 1 white 3/3 Angel with flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can give target creature you control your choice of flying, vigilance, or lifelink. And the biggest side is a 6 mana 5/4. But mostly you're going to cast it as a 3 mana 3/3. But it could also be a 6 mana 5/4 if you want. But this card.
Why is this card good?
So yeah, it doesn't look very assuming. Like I'm not gonna lie, like the rate is not very good, but it just happens to line up really well against a lot of the removal that's being played. So you can't go for the Throat It, you can't destroy evil it, you can play around the Emperor with it by giving stuff vigilance and
cut down also.
Cut down, yeah, okay. Cut down as well. 3/3 being the magic stat line. Blood Tithe Harvester, but also like having flying and granting flying is actually quite relevant in terms of like clocking people. So, for example, like this is a really good way to like beat the wedding announcement. You can just race it with this card, and it kind of plays well with the other cards in the deck as well. So it also features a lot of Archangel of Wrath, which is a card that has suddenly started seeing way more play again, and that also works very well in these like grindy mid-range mirrors, but also with these racing situations that turn up with cards like Steel Seraph. So that's a way you can trump like this mess. So anyone who's played like enough Standard in the last few months knows that the board gets very clogged with there's just tokens and enchantments and whatnot everywhere. But flying is a pretty good way to get around that, actually. So yeah, Steel Seraph and Archangel of Wrath are cards that seem oddly well positioned, as well as Sanctuary Warden. And I think those are why these like White and Mardu decks have started rising up. They've kind of figured out how to like get around these messes, go over the top of these messes. Well, literally go over the top of flying. But Steel Seraph let them hit a critical mass.
Exactly, like the Alter the Angel, like I got my Fables killed a lot of times.
It's very annoying. It's very upsetting.
The Angel killed your Fable. Like, come on, Fable. Like that's one of the reasons why Fable actually has been a little bit worse for me, because everyone's playing a lot of cards that are good against Fables, but that can beat an Angel or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I will probably try a little bit of this prototype card. It doesn't still look great. But Shieldred doesn't look great either,
Like the Steel Seraph I think is more clearly like Shieldred actually has a good rate. Like Steel Seraph doesn't have a good rate, but it just happens to line up really well against the interaction that's good against the rest of the format. And the ability is, the abilities are also better than they seem. Like flying plus flying, lifelink, or vigilance all come up in different spots, and I guess that's the classic. Modal cards are better than they look. But it's really quite true.
Also, lifelink pretty good against Shieldred in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I found that quite hard to beat as well.
Yeah. 3/3 flying lifelink can actually cancel a little bit of what Shieldred does.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Or if you play against the other deck that's appeared this weekend, huh? Yeah. It was a good segue, huh? Yeah. Mono red. Hey, look, that's mono red in more than one format has returned after.
Yeah, Mono Red is a new
Mono Red. So maybe you can talk a bit about Mono Red, because I think that's more your forte.
Well, I played some games with it already, because love me a good Mono Red deck.
Of course, fervent champion.
I didn't really follow what's going on here. I just it just wins games by having Kumano, Swiftspear, and burn your creatures, because the Grixis creatures are like. Fable is a great card, but it's not good in defense.
Yeah,
like if they're attacking you, that's the only situation where Fable is bad. It's not always good. And if you Fable and they play Shock, that's how the Mara deck wins. And also Lightning Strike. Like once again, Lightning Strike makes it so like if you go to 6 life, you die to 2 copies. That's an important part of this red deck, I think.
Makes sense.
I don't think it's great, but like the more Sanctuary Wardens are there, the better Mono Red becomes. Sanctuary Warden, it's well positioned in this format specifically, but in terms of like what 6 mana cards have been played in a Standard, like in the last 20 years or whatever, 10 years, it's pretty bad. Like it's not Elspeth's Champion, it's not like Infernal Titan or whatever. It's just
definitely.
It's I don't remember many weaker 6s that were played because of just like face value. Do you? I don't know.
We haven't played that many 6-drops in general over the last few years. I think the most formats have not been as... Like, we've spent 6 mana a lot. Just playing a straight-up 6-drop, though. pretty different. Because I
Yeah,
mean,
but
there's so many
sixes
mana
were
6 nowadays,
good.
you know. So
Yeah, but like, I mean, yeah, but if you play 6, it was like often like a very strong
something
effect.
absolutely
These-
game breaking, right?
Even even 5s, like I know, like Nisa, which is Wolf, they were like better cards. Like this one, like sometimes I lose to the card, but I feel like, well, this card's so bad, but still,
Yeah, it just got over
beats
the
me.
line.
But like, yeah, but this card is like, it looks to me like a 5-mana card that happens to cost 6, that happens to be well positioned in the metagame.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Like, I don't think it's like that much more powerful than like Owl or whatever. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's yeah. So the more people play cards like this, the better like Mono-Red becomes.
It makes sense.
Because
So
Monostudy, so Spear doesn't care about this 6-mana 5/5. It just attacks it for 1 turn 1.
that's kind of a good callback to the Pioneer one, right? So like the deck is not inherently super powerful, but it's a good metagame exploit against what people have started doing. They started getting too big, and you can just undercut them with Monastery Swiss Spears type cards, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the issue for me, Mono-Red, the issue is to crack a way to have a good sideboard. That's always a challenge in this kind of decks.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy in many formats to make a Mono-Red deck that's actually good in one. The problem
Best of
is
one,
to
yeah.
make your deck good against what they can do for sideboard, because Grixis suddenly becomes like a tool removal deck.
Their tools are
while
always way
decks will
better
have
than
a lower
ours.
curve. Exactly. So
Yeah.
you need a way to have like a good sideboard plan. And that's where I've seen like some Reckoning Buster, some like Elder Dragon Wars, whatever it's called, Saga, the 4-mana.
Yeah,
There
the Elder
are
Dragon
different
War.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Jaja. There's a lot of ways to build a deck, to build a sideboard, and I think the tricky part is there. I will certainly try a little bit to see if I can make that work. I don't have like a super high hope on
Yeah.
that, but I think it could work. Like if it works,
I am a little bit unenthused
you know.
looking at the options, because it feels like these would make sense against someone who's just trying to kill all your stuff. But the problem is these decks kill all your stuff and then they play threats that turn the corner quite quickly. So stuff like Chandra or Reckoner Bankbuster is actually going to be too slow. Like, it would be good if you're playing as a control deck that was actually just kill, and if they fail to kill all your cards, you win. But against a deck like Grixis that can slam, Sheoldred or Esper that can Rafine or Owl you, and you don't have that long to get back in the game. I do suspect that the sideboard options for Mono-Red are not good enough, because they're only good against someone purely trying to attrition you.
That could be true.
Yeah.
But it's worth trying for sure. Also,
we'll
there's
try.
another card that's very good in Mono-Red, is the Reckless Impulse, aka 2-mana draw 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very strong card. That also, if a slower sideboard plan works, it will probably base
It's because
also on
that
the
card
fact
lets
this
you do
card
it.
exists.
No, that seems reasonable.
Like, because if you deck is full removal and all your cards are redundant, the looting Fable is like, you can actually cancel a Fable with a good hit on this card, right? Like, in a way,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they have like a very exactly. So that's a very good card. Also, I mean, it's a deck that could sideboard into Fables as well. That's something I haven't seen, but it's something that could work.
I
If
could
there's a
see
way
that.
to actually make that work.
Yeah, if people
Because if you play, like-
people just try to removal you out of the game. You play Fable.
Exactly.
You know how that
You can
goes.
play like Impulse, Fables, and a little bit
okay.
bigger cards like a Tsushi or whatever, but not like full control, but these like mid-range again. And just happen to, like, if you can get to a 50-50 situation, that's fine, because game one is going to be good for you. So
That makes
I
sense
think
to me.
Red has some potential, some ideas. I will try to explore some of them, but I also don't have like a lot of time, because I will have some friends coming here for the Barcelona tournament. But I will try my best to try the Red decks win. Red deck wins once again, hopefully. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
well, those
that's
are
my
some directions for people to try, I guess. Figure out this
Exactly.
big Grixis pile, with the most important question of which is, what do we do with Sheoldred? And maybe take a look at these white-based mid-range and control decks, and then after that, if you have some extra time, some red aggro, see if you can figure out how to make that line up a little better against post-board games, I guess. Alrighty.
Yeah, that's my plan for the week. Even though I'm gonna like reverse order, because I'm gonna start with Mono-Red for sure. And if
It'll take the
everything
least time,
goes
I guess.
wrong, I will probably ask Anthony for an Esper deck list or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't usually talk about how we're gonna prepare tournaments, but this is special because it's only me, and also it's like like I haven't started yet. So
Yeah, I mean, it's good, give people an idea of like what, I mean, it would give people an idea of what we do generally, but also I mean, we don't have the answers, but we would like you to learn how to get those answers, I guess. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. There's your roadmap.
All right.
Yep.
Now we should move, right?
Yes.
That's Mengu will be happy because, as Anthony said, he's on his way to Seattle to fight for the rights of the non-initiative legacy players.
Mm-hmm.
This last weekend, I went to Italy, to Bologna, which is a great place to go for good food and tournaments. There,
okay,
as we explained last week, the European Legacy Master happened. Me and Mengu played there. I think Mengu lost the winning in. I got Swift 0-2 drop.
That's less painful, I guess.
That's less painful. Yeah, I mean, the tournament was a good, like, I like being there. It's also a venue where you can have like this ice cream and all this like pizzas or whatever.
It's actually ridiculous. Mengu just sends us these pictures. And, you know, all of us Magic players who played in big tournaments, you know, you're used to convention center food. It's really nothing special in most places. But Italy really seems... They really go the extra mile.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really good. Like, I just landed there on Friday morning, and the first thing I did was like, yep, I'm going to get a huge gelato. Like, it's like cold, but whatever. It's never cold enough to have a good ice cream. And it was very good. The pistachio ice cream there was like sick good. Like
pistachio
being on the line later in the weekend, pistachio, yeah. I was there, and there was like a guy that sounded like a Spanish accent or whatever, and he asked for an ice cream, and I had to tell him like, dude, the pistachio one is just like broken.
That's the best one.
I was like just very good. So yeah, I opened the weekend with a huge ice cream, and it was a very, very good one. We had like these huge dinners. We also had this Mengu birthday dinner as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Birthday.
I won a small side event in Sunday,
Nice.
all school one. Speaking of which, just to respect the order, did you win any tournament this weekend, Anthony?
No, I don't think so. Did I? Oh,
I
no, I did win some random APAC league thing that involved a draft where, but whatever. I got a trophy, did nothing big. Yeah.
A win is a win, Anthony, though.
I guess.
That's what we say.
I mean...
All right, so back to that's what happened. We're going to have Mengu here, huh?
Yeah.
So back to the European Legacy Masters, ELM. Yeah. So, well, basically, I played there. I played Blue-Red Delver with Unchained Berserker in the sideboard, the Pro White creature. I tested for the tournament, work with Alberto Bacu from Spain, which is the guy that put the Minsk and Boo in the sideboard. I also played that in my sideboard for the tournament, as well as this Parade. Mengu played 8 Ghast with Torpor Orb as well, so we definitely respected the White Initiative a lot. It ended up being like one of the second most played deck, just like a little bit behind Delver only, which is, I don't think I've seen that
for a new deck in
times.
Legacy
like,
to receive
2 weeks. And yeah, like 2 weeks,
that's rapid,
and it almost becomes like the most played deck. That's just amazing.
What do you think caused that? Like, is it that good, or is there other external factors that meant that it caught on so quickly, or what's going on?
It is very good. Like it is extremely good. Like
whoa.
The deck was running the tables there in like the last chance qualifiers for the Mogs. The deck is just super strong. Also like somewhat easy to play compared to other decks.
Sure.
Which that this field was kind of rough. Like it was full of good players, so. I think like this is a little bit more attractive than it could be in other situations, but the deck is just extremely good. And there were a lot of like cards like Torpor Orbs and such, but it still won the tournament. So the tournament was won by I'm pretty sure it was Samuel Thaurkak. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it was like mono white, and the big take was on the sideboard. He played Anti-Shine Kanushi. Do you know this card?
Yeah, it's in this deck. It's basically 1/1 protection from white, right?
Exactly. So 1/1 protection from white, 3 off on the sideboard, just to beat the mirror matches.
That's
that card was not in the map even for me. Like,
that's advanced. I like that. That's wow. I mean, they knew it was going to be popular. The deck was good. They're ready for the mirror. But...
Exactly. Like the deck was so good. Like I think at this point we can just basically confirm that this deck somewhat like broke Legacy. Like Blue-Red Delver has taken like years and players, like 1,000 players playing the deck or whatever around the world. Like it's just a deck that everyone plays. And there's like this somewhat big level tournament, and a deck that has 2 weeks, it just gets split as Delver.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I barely pay attention to Legacy, and I know about this deck. And Like, I know that a deck catching on this fast is big news. Like, even a non-legacy player knows that this is a big deal. So
exactly. Whoa. But also, this was a field where players we play like pro red. Like, it's very rare in legacy to play a narrow cyber card. Extremely rare, because there are a lot of different decks. So you don't play a card that's only good against lands. You play a card that's good against lands, but also against Animator, which is Surgical Extraction. Like, you never play narrow cards because you don't have enough space. We didn't respect that rule. We just went for full only narrow card because how good this deck was, and so did many players. Yet, like, it's still one of them, and also another. I think it was like 2 or 3 in the top 8 as well. Like that's. I think Legacy has been like somewhat broken. For like, this deck just broke it pretty much, in my opinion.
Do you think it? Yeah. Do you think that's a good thing that Legacy had a big change like this, or
I don't think this change is good. Right. Like, I think some changes are cool. I actually believe Legacy is not particularly worse after the Modern Horizons one. I didn't dislike Ragavan there, whatever. But this is a different thing, though. This is the so this is a highly uninteractive deck that just popped out of nowhere, and in like 2-3 weeks it just became like the best deck.
It kind of feels like this deck is the best deck. It just kind of overwrote what was going on in Legacy.
I mean, in Mengu words, like, this is a pure luck deck. This is like a 9 out of 10 luck deck at least. Could be a 10 out of 10 luck deck. This is I think this is just a luck deck.
Really?
And suddenly a luck deck is the best deck in Legacy. Like, imagine a format where a pure luck deck is the best deck.
I can imagine that's not that hard to imagine.
Well, I mean, it's not a very common thing, though, because it's often like a mix. But this is some. I mean, it's not as extreme as something like Hogak, but it's, just imagine Tron is the best deck by a lot. That's pretty much it.
I guess the other thing as well is that deck,
yeah,
like Legacy is a lot about continuity, right? Like, people like Legacy because they like certain things, and that thing is super not whatever this is. So
exactly, like, I think this weekend for me personally was a weak test for this deck, because there was like also a 500 tournament on Sunday. I think it was like one at least in the top 8 initiative, but Saturday was the tournament where like there was like 70 players, and there were like it was like 5 players per country or something like that. They invited like the most famous / good
the invitational
players from every country. Yeah, so the field was like an average pretty high, right? And in this tournament, the deck just, I haven't seen the win rate metrics, but you just could you could see it, like this deck is if a Legacy deck in 2 weeks is able to beat the established decks, while these decks play narrow cards like Torpor, Orpor, 2 mana, I want to stress enough in the fact that I was playing in this Delver, which is the most efficient deck in history or whatever, a 2 mana 3/1 pro white, because it had pro white. That's it. That's how good this deck is. And we even cut also, we'll play 1 Pyroblast in the main deck to play more removals for this deck, and the such, like a lot of like small concessions or whatever, but it didn't matter. Like, the deck is just like still too good. And this is not like players they don't like new cards, they're complaining because they're new cards or whatever. Like, this is this just broke the meta.
We can just say this, right? Like, me and Javier specifically, and maybe the Carnies in general, I don't know, but the two of us certainly, we're not really ones to ask for bans. Really, we specifically think that Me Took Massacre should not have been banned. We're not even sure that Laura should have been banned. Our bar is really like high to suggest any sort of action, I suppose, or to say something is concerning. But
I don't know if there should be a ban or not. Like, I don't think a ban. I'm not even sure they should ban anything or not.
It sounds like you think about it, though.
With this. Well, what I think is Legacy has been broken by this. But that's not exactly necessarily bad.
Okay.
For me personally, I think this type of deck is extremely unenjoyable because it's like very luck deck or whatever. But it also gives some interesting games once it's like playing. Like a mirror match, for example, can be kind of like interesting or whatever.
Well, it is until someone plays.
The same way, something like a mirror match of Dredge can be,
But the mirror match is interesting until everybody plays Empty Shrine Kanushi, right? Because I have to imagine that card must be absolutely miserable.
Yeah, no, for the protection from it's
Your
not
deck?
a very fun card.
Yeah.
Protection from the deck. So yeah, I mean, it's more about like what's happening with the metagame. It has changed. I'm not sure they should ban anything, and if they ban anything, which one they should ban. Because in Legacy, there's a thing like, a lot of cards are like the identity of the format, right? Like that's why Brainstorm is legal, you could say. Right? Brainstorm is like maybe too powerful for the format, but so is Ancient Tomb, right? Like if you ban Ancient Tomb, you fix a lot of problems, but then you take away one of the pillars of the format, which has been there forever.
So I guess it's a question of Legacy's identity. Yeah, that's really not something I'm equipped to speak to. So. Yeah,
like, I've seen it around, like, like I saw someone on Twitter saying like, well, maybe the problem is not that they print cards that were Legacy. The problem is they can play those cards into one.
Isn't that what Mengu was talking about with Pauper, where he was like, yeah, these initiative cards are this and this, but really it's Dark Ritual and what was the other card? Lotus Petal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds very familiar. This is sort of
similar.
Wow.
Yeah, this is similar. I think banning the initiative cards will probably just only create a situation where they eventually print another one. Because
that makes sense.
I mean, these commander cards, I don't know how they work, but they surely don't go through too much. Like, they just make the
design
card.
For different. I mean, they're designed. They do go through a lot, but a lot of stuff that isn't relevant to Legacy players, like.
Exactly.
They test them for
power level is not like exactly. Like I'm pretty sure that when they printed these like 4-man adventurer, they didn't expect to break Legacy, but it did.
Oh no, they definitely said they didn't. Yeah, they test to make sure it's fun in Commander, but what it does in Legacy.
It's clear they didn't.
Ancillary.
And it's gonna happen again, like because you read this card and you say like, wow, this is not very good, and you see the deck lists and just think like, wow, this is not very good. It's only when you actually play with these cards. And you're in the draw, or you're playing the deck and you go like turn 1, Cavern of Souls, Crown Mox, Lotus Petal, White Plumber guy, or White Initiative guy, and the game's over. Like, and you're like, well, this is actually good. Like, good.
I mean, it's just such
a
weird thing.
And I won the game through force of will.
Like, it's not a very intuitive card, right? Like, if we thought Shieldred was weird for standard players, like, the initiative is it's on another level entirely in terms of how hard it is to grok. Yeah.
And I honestly think one big part of why this actually managed to break Legacy is Cavern of Souls. Because there has been like Twin Sphere has been legal for forever. Mm-hmm. You can do turn 1 Twin Sphere, and that will often lead into a game win.
But you can force of will. Yeah, you can't force.
You can counterspell or force negation these cards.
Yeah.
But once Cavern of Souls is there, you cannot counter those. And that is a big difference because that makes this deck have like the deck has enough
uninteractable nut draws, right? Like
turn 1 kills because it wins the game, but you cannot forward, you cannot force a will, and that's pretty bad. I honestly don't know. I mean, if they were to take an action, it will be probably because of like the format identity or something like that. Like I think the deck is the best deck, but I also think it's like close to Delver. It's a little bit better than Delver or whatever,
but not by a lot. So okay, but it's more about preserving.
It's like this is a whole different thing. Like, this is a best deck that's about like turn 1 Chalice on the play, whatever, which is I think kind of fine to have. For me, usually when Chalice of the Good is good, Legacy is bad, and when Chalice of the Void is bad, Legacy is good. So you can probably figure out how I feel about Chalice of the Void being the best deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would agree.
That's why I won, and that's partially why I won an old school event on Sunday because I didn't play a Legacy there.
Oh, that's a strong vote. So, vote with your feet. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the only one that felt that way and has been feeling that way on Legacy lately.
Yeah, it says a lot.
But but also there's the other way around. Like there are some people that actually enjoy playing with new cards or whatever.
Sure. And
I also relate to that. So I specifically don't think the initiative games are that bad. But I think they are like very hard to interact with. And it's also it happens to be with this like Chalice of the Void Ancient Tomb shell.
I mean,
that is like mono games. If you're in the play and you play Chalice on 1 or whatever, like or Tomb plus Mox, that's 3 drop turn 1. That's very powerful. So yeah, I think the issue here is like these games are for many players non-enjoyable, and those players tend to be the kind of players that are like just being played Legacy forever or whatever. That's how I will describe this problem. Not about like the power level thing, yet like so. I think it's the best
just
deck,
purely about what
but
people
not
want.
by a lot.
About,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like when they banned this like like the they have made some bans because people will not want to attend to events for different reasons.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
we speculated on Midhood Massacres to be like something like that.
Yeah.
Because of the price of the card or whatever. This could be similar reasons. Also, these kind of cards are not easy to get.
Really?
By the way, because it's not. I tried to get some of them a few days before, and it was not particularly easy even for me.
Oh.
There aren't that many cards of these cards, so there are like more Regent, like these products are not as large.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression that they would be more available because Commander was so
even
popular.
Magic Online also it was very hard. Like I took like 3 days to actually get the cards so I could play with them. Like before, I just couldn't buy them. Like they were not in the market. Like we'll just search the box or whatever.
I guess
the
maybe they're hard to
and...
find because if it's all of a sudden it's the second most popular deck, people are buying the cards. I guess.
Yeah. In Magic Online, it was like very hard, to get them. They were like not enough, which is. I don't think it's good. Like I don't think it's good to have like 2022. You play Magic Online, you have the tickets to buy the cards or whatever, but you just cannot get them because there are not enough cards for the players.
That's
I guess like playing in the showcase qualifier. I did not play. We did not play that much Hate for Initiatives because the cards were super hard to
so you was capped in popularity.
To get. Yeah. So I was just wrong. I played against 5.
I guess they filter as well. If you start winning the people who did have the cards.
That was 1 week ago. Like 1 week ago, I played the qualifier, and I played against 5 copies of the same deck, or something. I think 4 in a row. I don't know. Like a lot. Like something that if you tell me this 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I would be like, "There's no way. It's impossible. Like this happens."
Sounds like Legacy. Hysteria. Yeah.
Like no deck can actually break Legacy this fast. Well, I was wrong.
Well, aren't we lucky that Mengu is traveling to the US to put up a sign?
Yeah, to protest against it.
Thank you, Andrea Mengucci, for making these sacrifices for us.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's a little bit sad because I think this makes Legacy for me a little bit unfun. But if you are the players that actually enjoy this kind of decks, well, that's good. Like I don't believe these things are like good or wrong. Like I'm
sense.
Actually because there's a lot of formats. Like if I don't like Legacy anymore, well, I just play a format.
We love Standard and like Pioneer and Modern have interesting things happening. Like I don't know if you don't like Legacy right now, it's all good.
Exactly. I don't like it. I will play more Standard. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit sad for those players that are like
not like that.
Specialists.
Yeah.
Like they only play Legacy, whatever, and they don't like this. And well, I feel sorry for you, but I think they're not gonna take actions particularly fast. Like also they're very slow at taking actions.
Makes sense. I mean,
mostly because the metagame, like also the community, whatever, so often is like very hyperbolic about this. Like it's like wow, this format is like. Has been like broken or whatever. I think this time it gets to a point where it's happening.
Alrighty.
Yeah, we'll see though. But even if the metagame at the end adapts, it's been like some decks are like almost unplayable now if they're too bad against initiative.
It's
I think the skill is here. I think the initiative cards are here to stay. I don't think this deck is going anywhere like from tier 1. I think this deck is what the Mono-Red Prison type of decks always wanted to be. And it was like a tier 1.5 deck or whatever. This one is just like better. It's better than 8-cast, and it's better than Mono-Red. How good it will be in the future? Well, I mean, Legacy, similar to Modern, if you have enough hate cards, you will beat anything. I mean, if you reach a point where you play some of the pro-white cards main deck, then people will beat this deck. Because...
just funny. Like, I've always thought of Legacy as the format where you can main deck like Red Elemental Blast or whatever, and now maybe we do it for white cards. It's so different, It's from the outside.
If funny. You see exactly. So
probably that's funny if you play the format.
Like now, if I could play the Legacy Masters, I will probably play more pro-white creatures. I will probably play 4 full playset in the sideboard.
Well, at least it's easy to gather a search for the ones that are good.
Yeah, so there's this point where bans are not needed because the metagame will adapt. This weekend there was already a big adaptation and it was not enough. So it needs like an actual
more guys.
More pro-white creatures. But I think if it happens, we will see it being like fixed. I mean, fixed, like, you know, like I don't think it's gonna be the best deck forever because it's easy to put cyber cards against this deck, even in your main deck. The issue is, well, you have to then decide if you like that in the format or not, if you find it's fun or not. But enough pro-white, like one pro-white creature, just goes a very long way to beat this deck for real.
Makes sense.
Like for real.
Play the hate.
All right. All right. That's the Legacy run. Good luck, Mengu.
Please.
I'm not sure a ban will be good or not, but if that's what you want, we respect your desires.
I mean, he flew all the way. It'd be a waste if he flew all the way and then we told him to not do the thing. Like,
well, maybe he can take some holiday though, New York or something. You know,
Mengu doesn't take holidays. He's a very hard worker.
After he gets a ban, maybe celebration holidays.
I don't think so. He'll just he'll have to figure out the next thing he needs to get banned.
All right. Speaking of Mengu, now we go to the actual format of the people.
Finally.
And that is
competitive
Anthony...
EDH. No, wait.
Well,
that's not it. Hang on.
ADH is actually the format of the people, I will guess. But here we are called competitive Magic with the Carnies. So the competitive format of the people we haven't talked about is...
Alchemy.
Nope.
No?
Okay, well, it's not Pauper, unfortunately, because Mengu is not here. It's Alchemy.
That's what I said.
I don't know, actually, because we were wondering before that maybe there are more people playing Alchemy or Explorer than Pauper. I don't... like. I have
makes
no
sense, right?
idea.
Just people who, like, casually play Arena, and, like, the default format is Alchemy, so... Probably all the people who don't know what a format is have only played Alchemy, I'm guessing, just because of the way Arena's set up.
Maybe there are not that many people that play Alchemy. I don't know, they push the graphics somewhere.
No, I think, but those only track in franchise players, right? Like those only track the people that download like the Untapped app or whatever. But only Wizards knows how many people actually play Alchemy. But I'm just assuming there's so many people who don't really know, like, you know, they don't follow Magic that much. They just play what Arena shows them, and you know, Alchemy is kind of the default option, as far as I'm aware.
But also they cannot track how many people play in home games like Pauper, because it's a very common...
yeah, but I mean, Arena's massive, it's so accessible. Like, Pauper, you have to, like, already be part of a Magic community, an active Magic community, and a franchise one to even know what Pauper is, right? Like, your average Magic player probably doesn't even know what Pauper is, honestly.
No, but I know a lot of players that don't play competitive a lot, they just don't travel much, but they play Pauper. They just meet every week...
Yeah, but you know, all the people you know that play Magic are probably very enfranchised players, right? Like,
okay, true. Okay, maybe that's true. Okay, so the format of the people that do not play Pauper, it's
I just think just straight up, just the format of the people is Alchemy.
Just format of the people. Well, Mengu's not here.
Yeah, okay. Mengu's not here. We can say what we want.
So Alchemy. Well, Alchemy hasn't moved so much lately. Have you been playing any at all?
Nope. I mostly only mention it because I'm allowed to when Mengu's gone. I don't know anything about
randomly, it. You know, like, this is like for fun games while I'm on the gym. Just play like some Esper, also like some Sacrifice. There's like this still like this chicken that puts the power 9. There's a lot of cool cards there.
Yeah, the Oracle or whatever, right? That's a cool card.
I'm gonna still maintain that the gameplay of Alchemy is kind of fun.
I mean, I can definitely believe it. I mean, it can't be that different to Standard, which is, you know, it's pretty great.
It's very standard. Yeah, it's a little bit like Standard, but by the mana base, pretty much.
And then they add some cool cards.
So I still think the Alchemy, the better hit of Alchemy is Forgotten Crossroads.
If that was like they should just put that card in every Standard format. I would be so happy.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly. Like, it's a land you play, and it's like one of these, like, you choose a color, okay? Mm-hmm. And the land becomes of that color, and just create one. But if you're in the draw, you can instead do the same, but instead of scrying, it comes to play untapped. That's it. Like, it's a card that could be a normal card.
Yeah, there's nothing about its alchemy.
Honestly,
specific.
it should be like an uncommon that's like Evolving Wilds, and it's just in every Standard format. Like, I think this card just makes Standard better. Like, it just makes...
No, it was unironically one of my favorite things about Alchemy, for sure.
It's my favorite thing about Alchemy by a lot, and it's not like a broken dual land, because the fact that it's not a dual land, based on the pathway effects, you cannot build like 4 color decks every day because you have this card. Like, pathways are good if you play 2 colors, but once you start playing 3 or more, they break back because you choose white, for example. Yeah, and you cannot cast the black card or whatever with it. But this card makes the game so it's like, one, you non-game less because you are, of course, scrying, whatever. Mm-hmm. But also, like, I don't know, just makes like being on the draw is not as bad because you can often just
you have better mana than your opponent.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just like the design of this card, and I just hope we're gonna see this card. Like, I would hope to see this card in Standard.
Yes,
and
please.
if you want to play a Standard that has like less non-games, Alchemy might be the thing for you. Also, there's like if you only play Standard or whatever, or you are basically a Standard player, there's more new cards in Alchemy like every few months, and they make some fixes, so it can keep things fresh. Also, longer. I don't know if that's bad or good, but I guess if you play only Standard, maybe that's a good thing for you.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, I think Standard has, more. It's been evolving enough, but you can only play so much of one format for most people. So, yeah, if you've managed to play out Standard enough, then maybe you can try Alchemy, I guess.
So yeah, also for Mengu, if you hear this and you're going to with a wish letter to it, what is also I wouldn't mind having Forsaken Crossroads in Paper Magic. I guess
we should have sent Mengu. We should have given him a bigger sign. This is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Long wish list.
It's I don't know. This card could be hard to execute in paper, I guess, on the rules because I don't know. You always keep track of who was first, regardless.
It's not
right?
I mean, yeah, everyone knows who was first because obviously every single. We'll censor that. Every time someone loses a die roll, they have to tell you how many times they lost a die roll this tournament.
Okay.
So for sure, people know because if they remember it 3 rounds later, how can they not remember in the same
I always
game?
wrote it down.
Huh?
I always wrote it down in the paper who was first.
Oh, so for complaint equity?
In the life
That's
bet.
fair. I didn't think you would do that.
No, for just in case something weird happens, so like you forget. You have,
the judge has to count cards because there's a wrong count number or something.
So
okay.
I think this card will actually be easy to implement in the Paper
hard.
Magic.
We can just say that if you can't remember, you don't get it or something. It's not that hard to figure out some sort of rules thing.
So I have a lot of insight about Alchemy, other than I still like the cards that are playing there, but I just only play like super casually. Like I just copy a deck and just.
Would you say that you played casually because it's the format of the people?
Exactly.
Yep. Okay.
That's what it is.
Go on.
I just. So for me, sometimes I like to play Magic, but not exactly always. I'm in the mood to be like focused on learning games, and I don't like to play games of formats I want to play competitively that way. I think it leads into bad habits.
Yeah.
Like if I play Modern, I don't want to play like not caring and just like not paying attention to the games or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I pick bad habits that way, so I don't do it. But sometimes I'm like, I'm half asleep or whatever, and like going to the gym, and like, a game here, and that game is Alchemy or Explorer for me. Or Draft also.
Okay. Alchemy,
Draft,
Explorer.
not anymore.
Draft.
I think I'm gonna try to focus. We have to learn Draft, Anthony.
Yeah.
We're
gonna start focusing on that. Hey, we should podcast about that at some point. I remember we talked about that before.
Like,
now it's real.
let us know if you're like interested into making talking a little bit about limited in the podcast. It will mostly treat limited like I guess especially in the days Mengu's not here, but like a little bit like another format. Like we'll talk also a little bit about limited, not a lot, but like these cards are good, whatever, and how our journey into learning how to draft again.
Yeah, we'll probably be more abstract, right? Like I think a lot of people talk about like the actual format as it develops, but we're more likely to talk in abstract terms about learning limited and all that jazz. What we're trying to figure out as we go.
Yeah, mostly what we learn, like our journey, I guess. Yeah, like our, how we're feeling about this. Yeah. So let us know also. This one can go to Mingo09, I think.
Yes, that's for sure. And also all the things about Alchemy. So everything about Alchemy and Draft to Mengu's
exactly. That's exactly. All right. I mean, I think we can wrap it up, right? This was good.
Yeah, I think we covered everything that we thought about covering, probably.
Okay.
And if we didn't,
so next week we will. Yeah. Hopefully Mengu comes with some changes from what the office is, but if he doesn't, well, we'll still, regardless, command all the formats, and maybe White Initiative disappears, and whenever I take a position in something, I always end being wrong. So probably see the topic this week.
That's rough.
In Legacy, yeah. And hopefully I can make I have never played the Mogs finals, so maybe this time I can sneak it in. I don't know. But...
One more badge to earn.
Yeah, I mean, I never earned it, so I will try.